Last week we discussed Dnipro, and it seemed to be a situation where Ukraine was either vulnerable or actually saw it as an opportunity. So, which way has it gone since?
Yeah, again, this is a fascinating episode in the war, and I think we'll look back on it as being potentially a pivotal moment because, as you say, there's a largely static areas, the front line elsewhere, but the Ukrainian forces have got a sort of a presence on the eastern side, the Russian side of the river. Now, really, conventional military wisdom, the Russians should just push them out into the river. They haven't. What was interesting this week was that the Russian media published a statement that the Russians were not withdrawing, but were repositioning their forces to more favourable positions. But that statement was very quickly retracted and taken away. Now, what do you take from that? Do you take from that the Russians are nervous because they don't have the forces there? Or is this part of the deception campaign so that Ukraine suddenly thinks, haha, we can move in there, and then actually the Russians jump them?
And?
Well, what's happened is that Ukrainians are continuing to build up their forces on that eastern bank. And the Russian military has now claimed, the media switched to saying that they're raining fire on the Ukrainians on the eastern bank of the Dnipro. What appears to be happening, though, is that it's winter, it's very difficult to move forces around swiftly, and that the Ukrainians are gaining a bit of momentum on that east bank of Dnipro. It's still incredibly fragile, but as we said before, if they can make it work, that could fundamentally change the dynamics of this campaign over the winter period, when a lot of analysts, including myself, would probably have assessed that over this winter period, probably not a lot was going to change. Whereas if they can get across, make a form of beachhead, and then the freeze comes in when you can start to move heavier machinery around, and it's almost certainly that the Russians will not have had the layers of defense there that they have elsewhere. So if, lots of ifs, Ukraine can capitalize. And bluntly, I think this is about priorities. I think if you look at the battlefield, there are three main areas. Crimea is the fourth, but let's say at the moment it's more irritation in Crimea. But the three other areas where the focus is, you can't have three main efforts. You have, by definition, a single main effort. Russia's main effort appears to be the Donbass region, Avdiivka, Bakhmut, because it's pretty evident they want to seize the Donbass as a priority. They clearly don't want to give up the land bridge and therefore stop Ukraine breaking through. And they clearly don't want to see Ukraine make it across the Dnipro. But if you had to bet on back one of those three, which would it be? And it appears to be they're backing the Avdiivka because they're throwing a lot of soldiers. They're suffering huge casualties at a very difficult time of year for fighting. And it's pretty evident there that if Ukraine can hold the line there, but still make progress down to across the Dnipro, then Russia might have cause to regret that. But we've re-emphasized several times, if their priority is to take Donbass and secure Crimea, the land bridges are nice to have. If it gets lost but holds up Ukraine, wastes a lot of Ukraine armor, diminishes Ukraine's fighting ability, then Russia might consider that a price worth paying.